Hi, I'm Jonathan Plotz. I'm your host with the Millionaire Reach. So today we're going to be talking about a few things. One is going to be the update on my business, where I'm at right now with it. Two is going to be personal development, how to make your lives better and how to increase your success based on personal development. And three is going to be our tech time. So that's going to be more diving into tech geeks stuff, and we're all going to have a fun time with that. All right, so let's do the update on my business. So currently where I'm at is in my business, I'm making some really good traction. So I'm making some really good success on creating those emails for the follow-ups for those 30 days. Those are my sprints for this week, and they're really coming along. I feel like I'm really getting places with that. So let's move on to the next thing, which is personal development. So we all have bad thoughts. They do come up when you really truly believe in something in yourself. Depending on what your circumstances and what's happened to you through the day, what you've heard and taken in, that can affect your psyche. So that can affect if you think you can do it, if you think you can be successful, if you think you need to make money, and that gives you the energy to be successful. But usually the money comes last. So what I really want you to focus on and think about really constructively is what happens, right, when you make that success, right, in your brain, and what are you going to do when that happens, right? So this last video I talked about celebrating, and that's super important, to celebrate something when you achieve something like a task or a little thing. But I want to talk about really right now is what happens when you have those bad thoughts. How do you handle those thoughts, and how can you kind of change your direction and how you think? So Entre really teaches about your mindset. Where is your mindset when that happens? How do you change those monkey thoughts that Jeff talks about and turns that into a way that you can improve your business and really focus and do what you need to do to make sure you gain that traction. So one thing that they recommend, Entre recommends, is that you really focus on your future vision of yourself, right? It's like a person coming to a product, right? So you're a salesperson, there's a product that you sell, and a customer is going to buy that product. So let's take this example in as Ancha's training. So they're taking your current self, right? They're creating this window with their product, right? And they want you to go through that window and see your future self, right? But you have to have certain things in place to see yourself at that future self point. So they're really selling you on what you can be, and a lot of that has to do with you and your motivation and your focus and your dedication to that. Because if you're really not dedicated to Entre or to future endeavors that really do that future self, whatever product or service it might be, you won't see value in it. And I think that's really important for us to understand. And we all can have certain bad thoughts about, if I'm good enough, if I hit these roadblocks, how do I overcome them? Am I getting the right help? All these different things. Well, Ancha is really good at giving you resources. So they give you resources to coaches, they give you resources to the community to ask questions. They give you resources like you can use Google to Google things and learn more stuff, even if Entre doesn't have the most advanced information that you need on something specifically. If you want to do something, so I'm not really good at explaining that. So let me explain that better. So Entre is really good at giving you the training that you need to become successful, right? But some of that training, there's more advanced things to it. And when you're in that coaching or in that, in those meetings with Jeff or Adam, you learn those things. But if you're not in those you're not exposed to them. So how do you get the information you need? Well, one good way to do that is to use Google and YouTube to figure out exactly what you need. So that's something I'm doing. So if right now, I'm going through all Kevin's videos and all that content, and I'm really focusing on my personal development. So after I go through the list that Jeff gave me of all the different videos, when we're doing the implementation boot camp, I'm going to go through all Kevin's videos, take notes, and just figure out exactly how to become a more successful person, because that's going to affect my mental psyche. I'm getting the 3 Ps with my physical self, but I really need to focus on becoming successful and that successful mindset. And how does that play in with all the things that we're learning? So that's something super important. I hope you found value of what I'm saying, and I hope you get to that next level just with the information and through your coaching or meetings with Jeff in the future, and really take that next step to level yourself up. All right. So next, we're going to be talking about the tech time. So this is the Geek Zone. So the Geek Zone is more tech cool stuff that Entre doesn't really have, or it's more advanced training that you could find somewhere else. But since you're part of Entre and you see me, I'm creating this value for you, okay? So what I really want to talk today about is pinging IP addresses. So pinging a specific domain. So what that entails is on Windows, they make it really easy for you to do. Now, I'm a big guy on the matrix. I really like what, all the different like the graphic, like how cool is it when you watch the matrix and you saw that like these green different symbols and letters and codes all coming down the screen. I thought that was so cool. Well, let's do that. Let's kind of have the same effect, but a little bit different in just the command structure of what that looks like, and that cool like green color, making it super fresh like the Matrix when it first came out. All right, so right here, we're in command prompt. If you type CMD on your Windows computer, it will pull this up and you'll see this screen. Right. So after you're in command prompt, what you want to do is, I want to say color A. Now we just change it to that cool green neo streamlined color that was so cool back in the 2000s. All right. So next, what we want to do is we want to ping an IP address. Well, I think something really fun to ping is a domain, and why not do it on Entre, right? So let's go ahead and ping Entre's domain. So we'll say we're going to ping it, and we're going to ping entreinstitute.com. All right. So this is what we found here. Is we're pinging Entre's domain. It's going to this IP address, and that's their IP on the web server. And then depending on their network protocol, sometimes it allows ping, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's filtering with IPs for the pinging. If they don't have pinging turned on, then it's not going to work. I've seen in my IT experience firewalls that don't have pinging turned on, routers that don't have pinging turned on. So it really just depends on if it's turned on or not, if it's working, that sort of thing, if it's configured right. But what I really want to touch on is what this allows you to do is test if it has a response. So meaning if it does have a response, then it's talking back to you. So when you ping it, you can see if it's completely down, not working. Either that's a configuration issue, or that means just the equipment's turned off and not working. So in here, we want to look at specific things. The first thing we want to see is the packets sent. So it sent 4 packets here, and it replied 4 times. The next thing we want to see is, did it receive all those packets? Yes, it received all those packets to that specific domain and gave me the IP address with the response back. And lastly, we want to see if there was any data loss at all. So did those packets, did some packets go through and other packets did not? No, it didn't. It had 0% loss, it's 100% success, and no packet loss. And then the last thing we want to take a look at is just the minimum and the maximum and the average of how long did it take to respond. Well, this took 46 milliseconds to respond. That's the average time for each one of these things to respond. The TTL, what that stands for, is time to live, and that's how long it will go until it refreshes, basically. So right now, Entre is doing really great. It has a pretty low response time for those packets, which is 4 to 6 milliseconds. You can see the IP address for that. This really helps you and gives you value when checking your website. Because if your website's not pointing correctly to your web server where you have your hosting at, it won't respond. Or if the response is turned off, then it won't work. But typically, it's always turned on with the domain. I've ping tested, I don't know, 20 so 30 so domains with my web development, and I have to say each time it pinged back, unless there was like a configuration issue. But basically, what this allows you to do is see if it's pointing to the right place. The web server will respond with the IP address. As long as your domain is pointed to the right place in the web server and everything's connecting right, everything then is working. So the propagation time when you change and manage your DNS on your, let's say, your GoDaddy or your ClickFunnels or whatever web hosting platform that you're pointing it to, the domain propagation time usually takes between 15 to 20 minutes. Online, it says it takes 24 hours, but really, it really doesn't. It doesn't really take that long for the DNS servers to pick up and map everything out like it expects to. So really, you don't really have that much of a wait time. But yeah, this is just the tech zone here. And what we just did was we pinged a domain, we saw a response, and we saw exactly in that response, and we went through what each thing's meant. So I hope that created value, Entre Nation. You guys have a great morning or great night, depending on when this post is accepted through Entre. And I will catch you later. All right. Bye now.